Hello, historical people. Where's it in the garage? Obviously, chat about longsword stances, where to stand and what to do with your sword. Okay. Now, this is something I feel people get really hung up on, but then at the same time, it does really help to train a few different positions with different stances. So, first things first, your stance is going to dictate mostly what you're going to be doing. There is this talk in some of the German systems that are like, this stance beats this stance, and it's like rock, paper, scissors, and I think that's a bit silly. Especially nowadays, because the way everyone fences is to like fuck everybody else up that's read the books. So realistically, stance number one, call this vom tag, call this high guard, call it hawk, call it whatever you want. But it's basically the sword is up high, nice and close, you know, knee, shoulder, maybe it's above the head slightly, you know. And basically this is giving you no protection as such, but it's providing threat, okay? I did a video ages ago on what is a guard and what is a stance, I think. But anyway, this one's really cool because you've got all your attacks from whatever position you want. Okay, and it's pretty standard. But if you sit in this, you could be leaving yourself open to like snap cuts and people that are just quicker than you. Okay, I do like, after I've thrown some stuff, retreating out to something like that could be useful because it just gets your arms out of the way. Okay, definitely look at starting from something like this. It's just nice and straightforward. Obviously, the big boy, the top dog, pretty much one of the most common stances you'll see, and definitely one of the first ones that we learn at the order really, is just point towards enemy, okay? Some people call it the flog or whatever. It's different to Longpoint, which is out here, which we'll go over in a bit. But basically this here gives me a lot of quick defensive options. All I've got to do is turn my wrists realistically or lift or lower my hands to get some of these defenses off. Okay, interesting thing about this though is like a lot of people just think hold the hands out, move the sword to wherever. You can actually benefit from really locking in on your hip or higher up if you're doing it higher up. But you can almost block with, you can look at blocking with more kind of the medium, probably not the weak still, but you can take some serious hits by just couching this, okay, to either thing, and it gives you a nice little base to work off, okay. Loads of attacks accessible there, obviously namely the thrust, but it's not too bad. And then if you wanted to go into your bomb tag from there, bang, it's dead easy, okay. And actually, for the most part, your parry will set you into that stance anyway. So it's quite a good one. Those two, bread and butter. You have what a lot of people refer to as the ox or the pendant or the, I can't remember what the Italian one is, but whatever, finestra, yeah. And the idea behind this one is it covers that top, in this case, top left arc for me. I find that yes, it does, but a lot of people like to leave their arms out, and you can actually take a lot of hits behind the sword there if your distance management's not great. I do like the sort of Italian style where they pull back a little. Okay, and then in the English sources, we do see this pretty much there as either the pendant or the quarter guard, whatever. So that's really nice because here you've got a quick thrust off there. You can actually get to your other lines quite easily. It can be a bit awkward or whatever. Molding it that way, bang, whatnot. People do find that their attacks are a bit limited from there, but I'd say you just got to get creative. Like, you've got short quarter blows, you can roll it round. Typically here, this is what we, in the Order of the Blade teachings, right, we call this a coiled guard, okay? Same with like a hanging guard. It's coiled, someone does hit that, it's ready to sort of flip round or do something else. So yeah, that's kind of like your ox or whatever. just that point forward and held high. Basically, it's like this, but inverted, okay? And there are many ways to do it. You can do it longer, you can do it shorter, you can do it lean back, each of which give you a little bit of a cheeky bonus, but just work with whatever you feel is comfortable. And I suppose that's the main thing with stances, is like you're looking for somewhere that you know where to work from. Okay, so if you only know, or you know you can only do like 3 attacks really well, and they're all accessible from here, well then you're gonna fucking end up here a lot. Okay. Low guard. So Fool's Guard, Albus sort of thing. You do have variations of this where you're like over here, or you just here. Maybe it's just a low long point sort of guard. Okay, and these are great. These are kind of quite standard. I find myself working from these a lot. A lot of people I spar with, they do like to work from these a lot. All this does is it forces you to take a complex action, so more than one action most of the time. You can cut straight up, but it's not too common. Obviously you can cut around, etc, etc, but you are kind of giving your opponent that first move, or so to speak, if you sit in some level like this. Typically, not always the case. You can bang, you can do stuff, but realistically you're saying come at me bro, and seeing what happens. Obviously something comes in, then you can send things off. A lot of people like to build their sort of Zwerkals off this. I fucking can't do it myself, but that's how they like to set them up. Come from low, explode high, and then snap in, which is cool. It's really nice. What other shit we got? We've got the tail stuff, which is similar to the your Fool's Guard, except you actually have more of a, you have the leverage point at the back there, so you can come up quite swiftly, quite quickly. Oh yeah, you got the key, the shuttle thing. So if I was going from Flug into Ox, right, instead of me just going straight like that, you've got the key where you sort of have it on your shoulders like this, which looks weird, but actually lets you do some stuff. It's not, you wouldn't sit in it and pretend that you're going to protect yourself in any way, but yeah, it's cool. So that's probably most of the stances I can think of. There's loads more. I mean, you've got like above the head stuff. You got Vardy's, what is it, True Window. Okay, so instead of just being in a vom tag like that, I mean that one's fine, but on the opposite side, instead of just sitting like that with hands not crossed, you cross the hands and then it gives you actually some head protection. Whereas standing like this, it's too easy to let that line through. What else you got? You got obviously the sport type of guard, which is quite common, which is kind of sword literally in the middle, and then that's just set up thrusts and stuff. And then you have this other sporty one, which is kind of like this, like you can sort of keep the sword. It's like a vom tag, except you're down here, and that is because you have quicker access to the blade. So instead of the blade coming from here, because we're not needing as much power due to like a lot of fencing rules, you can just explode from there. Okay, and it's just that little bit quicker, a little bit less, whatever. But you do, obviously, you've got a generally weaker blade profile up there, so things are supposedly going to come through. But because of sort of common tournament style fencing that we see, there's a lot more speed and single tap type focus, so it changes things a bit. Not a great deal, but just a little bit. Yeah, so with the stances, and this is probably the bit that's going to get mixed because we're at the fucking end now, but it's probably the most important. You don't want to be just sat in one stance at any time, really. Like, your stance tells your opponent information about you, and they're going to make decisions based off of what you're doing, or they should be if they're any good. So realistically, if I'm down here, I want to be coming up sometimes, okay? But I don't want to be, let's say, coming here every single time I want to attack, I'm there, okay? Maybe that is where I'm launching stuff from, but I want to be moving in and out of that position, okay? Nice and easily, okay? And then I'm going to attack, okay? That was a shit attack, but that's where I'm going to attack. keep it moving. We call this guard dancing. Okay, so you're moving between your different positions. Okay, you're not necessarily giving it up. I have watched some footage back of myself where I'm just sat in one guard position constantly. I keep coming into the engagement in the same position, and then I wonder why I'm getting tagged or why the opponent's getting the better of me throughout the sparring session. It's because I'm doing the same bloody thing. Okay, so sometimes that is where I need to be. Okay, that's where all the shit's planned from. But maybe I need to be down here, and then I'm using the parry to then come in. Okay, as opposed to just sitting here waiting, bang. Which also can be effective if your timing's good, if the rest of it's good. But if you're watching this video about where to stand with the sword, you're probably struggling with that stuff. Where you stand is not going to save you, okay, necessarily. If you're newer, you're less experienced, and you're not really sure what you're up to, I do recommend keeping that point out. So whether that's in your couched sort of flug position, don't do the, oh yeah, we didn't talk about long point. Don't do fucking long point for very long, okay? Long point is your ending. So you end attacks here. You know, there is some stuff you could do, okay? But a lot of it leaves you in danger. This is weaker in terms of, you know, the strong, weak profile of the blade. Like when my arms are extended like that, I don't have the structure. So this is weaker, okay? It feels counterproductive to be too close with the sword, but you have more strength, more structure, the sort of closer you are to your body. Okay, and that doesn't mean hold the goddamn sword like this. That's ridiculous. Keep that sword always at 45 if the sword's out in front of you, because you want to kind of cover as much of a guard window as you can. Anyway, sitting in long point is never really a great idea. You will come in and out of it when you do your attacks, but my goal for long point is how do I get out of long point, okay? For the most part, there's literally one attack that I do off here, which is where I come out and I'll spin and carry on, okay? But don't really sit in long point. You can use that to like offer your sword if you want. Not a big fan. Your motion, your mechanics, they're all coming from the body, so the hips, the legs, everything else. So, okay, you don't want to be out here, because I can do a rake or a little chop, but I can't do much else. So that's where to stand with a sword, I guess. Yeah. Yeah, don't stay in one pose too long. Equally, like, don't fucking change around them constantly, maybe. Like, you want to give your opponent feedback, and this is where I suppose you want to be thinking about it. This is me sending a message to you or my opponent, okay? When I'm down here, I'm sending them the message of, you know, I want you to go first, potentially. When I'm up here, I'm giving them the message of, all right, I'm in a good spot to attack you. I'm possibly playing defensive, or I'm trying to stab you, etc., etc. Like, you've got to think of like the information you might be getting. Advice on how to actually do. Maybe I need to redo this, but yeah, hopefully you found something useful out of that. I'm not going to ramble on anymore, actually, unless you want me to. So let me know. But yeah, that's how to stand with a fucking sword, man.